Okay, I've never done this before. I'm very padded because I have my vest on under my coat because it's freezing in here, but I am going to try to make a video of me doing pottery. Because why not? I've never done it before, so why not try? So I've worked with this clay one time before. It's kind of like softer than normal. It doesn't have as much grog in it, so it's a little finicky. I'm not, let's put it this way, I have yet to throw anything that's actually like perfect, like centered or anything. But I'll wet my clay. It's not perfectly centered yet. So it's a little soft and squishy, so it's easy to mess it up. And I got it centered. Usually you put a little bit of clay under the bat so it doesn't wiggle, which I forgot to do. Got a little bit of spare for this one. Put it on this pin. The other thing I don't like about this clay is since it is so thin, like in terms of the sediment in it, it just dissolves and it doesn't stay in place. Like the bat itself moves around, wiggles, and it makes it really a pain in the ass. You can already hear it wiggling. But I got it pretty much centered. Which I know I made it look easier than it is for most people, but I got a technique down. So first you kind of make like a pyramid, and then you squish it down and in on itself. And that just kind of compacts the molecular density of the clay molecule so that it's extra strong, from what I have been taught at least. I'm not sure. So I like the technique of just kind of finding like a flat kind of oval dome shape. That's not perfectly centered, but like I said, this clay has been, it's my second bag, and out of the first bag I got 4 good pieces, one that's so I've been trying to get better at throwing larger pieces. My favorite sponge. I like using these natural sponges over these because these ones are they're rougher. This is more like made of sediment. It kind of feels like a lamb's ear to me. It's made from real sponge plant, I guess, or animal. So I created a hole, and now I am just kind of feeling to make sure the sides are about even. And now I'm just going to start creating a opening like that at the bottom of the hole. So there's different techniques. You could put your hand on top of the other one and kind of pull in towards yourself. You got to make sure that you do it very slow and steady, so that it's even as it spins around. Good. And now I have kind of like a little like cavern in the bottom. Like if it was like this, it kind of goes like this. So now I'm going to try to thin out these walls. But first I'm going to compress the floor, meaning that I created like a little like tube. So I'm just going to kind of go back from the outside back to the midline and kind of recompress the clay so it doesn't get all splits in the kiln. Because what happens if you don't compress the clay and you're spreading it too fast, whenever you go to fire it, it gets a stress fracture in there. And it ruins your piece, and then it's not worth all the time and effort to make this. So now I'm going to try to open up the wall. And the bat wheel's already starting to wobble because like I said, this clay is too thin to keep the bat in place. I'm just kind of compressing the floor a little bit more. I take my sponge and I just kind of go from the outside back to the midline. Okay, so now I'm doing what I call a pull, where I kind of get this finger up under this and I try to guide the clay up with it. So you gotta do it really slow. And you can't do it too intense or you'll create thin spots. Gotta try to follow it all the way to the top. I already feel like I'm getting a little bit of a thin spot, but that was probably the best one I've done this out of using this clay altogether so far. And I went a little wide. You're supposed to be more on top of it, but you can see all these little rings. I would touch my phone to show you, but I don't want to get all gross. But it's got a lot of nice little rings inside, meaning that the pull was done very slow and methodically and balanced. And the hardest thing for me is to go with even tension the entire time so that it doesn't get thrown off centered. And this one's actually centered right now for the most part. So I did a good job on that one. So it was the first time I did a good job on this type of clay body. Always gotta, I keep trying. This is probably the 6th or 7th different type clay that I've been playing with since I started the studio. And you always gotta figure out how it wants to work. They don't work the same. None of them work with my glazes the way I want them to. But this is a new type that's supposed to be lighter. So I'm gonna try to do another pull. I go from the bottom and I try to gather a little bit of clay. And I just try to gently kind of encourage, I guess is what I want to think of. I encourage the clay to come up with me. So I'm even learning just by making this video that if I had gone slower in the past, I think it would have worked a lot better in my favor, because it's working a lot better for me right now. But I get impatient. And notice I have to brace my hand against the other hand to have support system. Now I like to kind of leave a little bit of thickness at the lip, and I didn't do this last time, but you're supposed to compress the lip each time. And that's a nice little silhouette there. Although I'm going to open it up. So now I'm just going to gently, you can either do it, I like doing it with my split my hand. I just do it very gently. I just kind of compress the clay to keep it a little more dense because the lip's kind of vulnerable. So that's a nice shape, but I think I want it, I've been like, I don't know, I just don't understand the purpose of these tall bowls. Like I think wide bowls just makes more sense to me in terms of like functionality. So I've been a fan of opening them up lately. But it kind of stretches the clay, so it's a little hard to find like a balance between opening it up, getting it the lip, or getting the walls nice and tall, but then not having it too thin so that there's structure in the wall. For me, I tend to just want to keep throwing as thin as I can, as tall as I can, and that's not always, I don't know why, I don't know, it's not always like the best technique. So now I'm just putting pressure on the inside mostly, and I'm just supporting it with my outside hand. And I'm kind of creating a pull, but not really. I'm just trying to gently encourage the outside. Oh, it's going too thin. See, that's what I do. No. I made it too thin, and then it started collapsing in on itself. And this clay is just, it doesn't have a lot of grog in it, so it's not very strong. I think I might be able to save it though. Sometimes less is more, and I have been having a hard time figuring out where that stopping point is. Right now I'm just messing with it. I just think I'm making it worse. Okay, I'm just gonna let it dry out. I can reshape the lid later, but it needs to get a little more it's like too flimsy right now. And that's why I said, like, this clay doesn't have a lot of grog, which means like a lot of sand matrix in it, so it doesn't have a lot of structure. So I can wait and kind of let it dry out, and then I can kind of fix this a little bit. It's kind of got a fun shape, actually. Okay, so very gently, and I'm not even like gonna spin it because I'm afraid that it's just gonna collapse in on itself. Well, hopefully the next one will go better. How long has this been? It's been 10 minutes to make this. 10 minutes of my life. Okay, so then I'm not even gonna try to cut it or anything right now. I'm just gonna like take it off because I want to try to rework on it later. Okay, so that's my first one. See, shit. I was trying not to bump it. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, first time video. And it got ruined. Oh well, I'm learning with it.